Welcome back to our monthly feature series where we interview esteemed members of the AAC community to learn more about their path. Today, I'm honored to be joined by two distinguished guests, Duvol Thompson and Vincent Fuller. I won't waste any of your time. I'm going to dive straight into today's questions. So I'll kick it off with Duvol on this first one. How does involvement in the AAC and the wider Fordham community benefit you professionally and personally?
Uh, Thanks, Noah. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And I'll just jump right in. I think that involvement is important for me personally because it allows me to reconnect with people that I haven't seen in a long time or haven't communicated with in a long time. Often it just keeps that engagement going. As far as building a network, it's critical to building a network with other, in my view, of other attorneys of color, and it keeps that connection going. Professionally, same thing. As a partner at a firm or as a senior attorney at a firm, one of our key things is being able to connect and market to other folks, and I love being able to do that, help our brothers and sisters out with any kind of legal issue, and the AC is one of those opportunities for me to reconnect in that way and be able to help out when there's ever a legal issue.
Thank you, Duvol. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I agree. I think the two biggest things that sort of stand out, in my opinion, are just the network and the connectivity. I get the opportunity to stay connected to the attorneys of color that have come up through Fordham, either with me or since I've been there, and even before myself. And stay connected to them, stay involved in their ongoing professional endeavors. Being in DC now, a lot of times that's the one opportunity when I'm in New York to get connected or stay reconnected is through AAC events and things of that nature. So it's always something that I feel like brings me the connection that I need to the Fordham community at large when I get the opportunity to come to New York. And then network, all of us are peers, all of us start off on our journeys in different ways and in different law firms and different endeavors. And you never know when you're going to run into somebody or need somebody or be able to help someone. And I think that network that you sort of forge through the AAC and Fordham community will continue to be, has been big and will continue to be big in my career as I move forward.
Thank you for sharing that. It's all about community support. We'll move on to our next question now, and I'll start with Duvol on this one. I'd love for both of you to share some color on your career path. What key lessons have you learned along the way?
Uh, I would say, the key lesson that I think I've learned is that I think that whether you're at a law firm or if you're at a not-for-profit or whatever it is, that you are the key to your path. So I know a lot of times when being an associate at a law firm, you might be in a certain practice group, right? And a lot of times there's a lot of pressure to only do the work in that practice group or work for this partner. One of the things that I think is important is that my legal career is my own. And, I don't necessarily want to say that I'm tied down to a particular place. I want to have the opportunity to do the type of work that I want to do. So even though focused on I'm a litigation practitioner generally, right? So even though I was focused on doing work in my litigation group, I also wanted to do entertainment and sports work. And so in order to do that, I had to reach out to other attorneys at the firm while I was coming up and look for those stretch opportunities or even maybe those pro bono opportunities just to get that level of experience. And so one of the things that I learned is that, look, my career is my own. I need to shape it. And so I wanted to make sure that I had those opportunities because I didn't know if I was going to be a long time attorney at a law firm. I didn't know at the time what my plan was initially, but I did know that I wanted to do work in entertainment and sports. And so, I had to craft that. I had to look for those opportunities.
Big believer in that. Life is what you make it. Life doesn't come at you. You come at life. Vince, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of share a little bit of color, I'm a senior associate at Freed Frank Harris Schreiber and Jacobson in the DC office. But I started in the New York office, same firm. So I've been at the same firm my entire sort of legal practicing career. And only having been at one firm, I don't have a lot of sort of experience of what it's like to go from one firm or to the next, or even what it's like at other firms. So I can only speak on it. And I guess the lesson that I've learned along the way is going to be sort of spoken from the perspective of being at one firm for a long period of time. And the thing that I'll say is, Similar to what Duvol said, you sort of make your own path. But in addition to your practice and the work product and things that you put forward from a work perspective, which are all important, sort of use some of your skill sets outside of work to ingratiate yourself into the culture of the firm. And I think that's allowed me to be here at Free Frank and I guess have what I would consider a successful career thus far. An example of that, right? And you'll get into this later, but both Duvol and I have athletic backgrounds. When I first came to Free Frank, anything that dealt with athleticism, I sort of involved myself in, whether it was our flag football team, our softball team. We also had a corporate league basketball team, and that gave me the opportunity to sort of use strengths of mind, but also meet people in the firm, not only in my M&A and private equity group, but in real estate and litigation and antitrust, because those were some of the lawyers that were involved in those practice areas or in those sports endeavors as well. And not everyone from that group has continued on at Free Frank, but a lot of people have, and they're now partners and senior associates. So at this point in time, I have a very good sort of internal Rolodex at Free Frank of people that I can call and ask questions, ask advice, and a pseudo mentors. But it all started from me using a strength of mind that wasn't work related to sort of ingratiate myself into the firm and its culture.
Very wise perspective. Vince, I'm going to kick it back to you, and you kind of stole my thunder on this question a little, so add what you can that you haven't covered already.
Yep.
Both of these gentlemen made the rare transition from the NFL to the legal profession, and I'm curious from both of them, what was the most surprising challenge or advantage? And you spoke a little to the advantages that came with that shift.
So I'm going to go to advantage first because my childish is my challenge is rather childish, but the advantage is it's not much different. It's all work, right? Like to get to the NFL, it's a pure grind. It's about going out there, putting in the extra hours, paying attention to the extra detail to give you an advantage on the football field, to be able to make plays, to make plays and make NFL scouts feel like this person is worthy of, being in the NFL. And then once you get there, doing the same thing, putting in the work, watching the film, doing the extra work in the weight room to stay healthy, be available, and then get the opportunity to make plays on Sunday. All of that is about, sacrifice, commitment, and attention to detail. Those transferable skills are directly related to practicing law. You're sacrificing time, with your family, with your friends, you're staying committed to the grind, to the job, the detail of what it takes to be successful in your litigation matter or your corporate matter. And then you're putting in the work. You're continuously putting in the work, looking for more work, paying attention to detail of that work. I think that was the biggest advantage, is that I was already well suited to do that from, playing football from the age of whatever, 7, 8, 9. But really, once you get into college and playing in the NFL, sort of honing in and knowing that this is my career at this time, and these sort of attributes is what's necessary to be successful in that career. The transition to law was almost seamless because I just applied those same sort of commitments that I had playing football, and transitioned it over to the practice of law. That's the biggest advantage, I think, for me. The biggest challenge was sitting still for so long. My goodness. I mean, you go from one endeavor where you're up, you're running around, you probably sit down for about a total of 2 hours a day while you're watching film or studying or something like that. But other than that, again, you're practicing, you're pushing on people, you're pushing sleds, you're pushing weights, you're doing something active. And then you come to law school or you sit in a law firm and you do the same thing in terms of like hours, but you're sitting on your butt, or now you're walking on the treadmill or standing. But that first year of law school and then my first couple of years in the firm, it was so much being still that it was almost sort of aggravating.
So I'll go with challenge, and I'll go more direct. I'll go initially with challenge, but I'll go more directly to what was my actual challenge. So having, because I didn't take any time off from when I finished playing. Well, I didn't play as long as Vincent, but from when I finished playing to when I started law school. And so it was like, okay, I literally got off of a practice field, and then a few, months later, I'm in the law school. I'm in a seminar, right? And so for me, it was just kind of like, man, I'm literally been headbutting people for like the last couple of years, and now I'm reading every day. So it was just kind of like, man, getting back into that mode of having to study, read, making sure that I was organized because, in football, my schedule was my schedule. I got up early. I was up, either in the weight room or at the a training facility. I was, in meetings. Then I'm jumping into practice film sessions or film sessions, then practice, and then maybe some more film sessions afterwards. And so my day would be over, early, and then it was up to me to like kind of supplement that with respect to watching film or getting more work in. With law school, it was now, hey, I really have to read all of this stuff and I have to get back engaged with understanding the material. And so that was a little bit challenging for me for that first year. Um, it worked out, but it was, again, like Vincent said, it's a grind. You know what you have to do to put the work you have to put in. As far as advantages, realistically, I think Vincent probably the same way as me. Like we probably our stress level at work is probably lower than most people's, because when you experience the stress of, hey, if I don't make this play, there's like 100,000 or 60,000 or 80,000 people looking at me, and I got these other, 11 guys or 10 guys on the field relying on me to do what I have to do. And so that's more stress to me than going into the courtroom and talking to judges or dealing with opposing counsel in a deal. Like I never get my blood pressure never gets too high with respect to dealing with opposing counsel or judges because I just don't think it's that stressful. um, and so I think that that's something that's a key advantage to being an athlete on a high level is that you've already dealt with high stress environments or high, and that was something that you thrived in. It's something that you wanted. You were like, man, I really want that challenge. I want to be there. And so that's been a clear advantage for me, and I'm sure it is for Vincent along our careers.
That makes a lot of sense. That's interesting perspective. Life is all relative. Vincent, I'm going to kick it off with you on this next question. What advice would you give to young attorneys of color as they navigate their careers? How can they maintain a sense of community and connectivity with other attorneys of color?
And that the first question, generally, it doesn't necessarily mean as it relates to sort of attorneys of sort of connection and community with attorneys of color. So at least my advice would be, my advice is simply going to be do your very best, right? Like, especially early on in your career, do the very best you can. And this is from a big law perspective because, attorneys of color are going out and doing everything. But I guess in my time here, when attorneys of color put their best foot forward and sort of ingratiate themselves into the firm, they have successful careers. When they don't necessarily do their best, attempt to take shortcuts, attempt to not sort of do the work that they've been assigned, not take ownership and responsibility of it. And this is not just attorneys of color, I should say, this is attorneys generally, but I care about those attorneys of color that come to our firm. So do your very best. And if you have questions, ask me, ask other sort of AAC members, ask anybody that's done it before, because we've done it before. We have the opportunity to give back and help you be successful. The reason why I say that is because in my sort of understanding at this firm and others, we don't get the same opportunities to make mistakes as non-attorneys of color. And when we make mistakes, it sort of stays with us. It stays as part of our reputation a lot longer. And the best way to sort of not have that happen is to put your best foot forward. And even if you do make mistakes, show people that you made the mistake doing your very best. Anybody that I think has left this firm that's been an attorney of color in the first 2 or 3 years of their career, it's because they garnered a reputation of not necessarily being able to do the work. And it's not that they weren't able to do the work. It's just that they made a mistake or two and it got held against them a lot longer than it did non-attorneys of color. That's something that we're trying to fix at my firm. But I think the best way to sort of guard against that is to make sure that you show that you're doing your very best early on. And that's sort of near and dear to my heart, which is why I sort of gave that advice. And then maintaining a sense of community and connectivity with attorneys of color. I think there's two things that come to mind. One, being involved with attorneys of colors in the attorneys of color in the Fordham community at large, but then also there are a number of resources within big law firms that allow you to go to conferences and join organizations that have large networks of attorneys of color. I know Duvol is a part of one. One of the conferences that is near and dear to my heart is Charter Your Own Course, or CYOC, that's held every year in Orlando. And every year I go there, I meet new individuals, new attorneys of color, but more importantly, I come back refreshed and recharged, ready to navigate this next year of law practice to sort of be that much more successful. And I think that sort of community is important for all attorneys of color, but especially, I think Charter Your Own Course is especially significant for young attorneys because there's seminars, there's engagement to help you with your practice, to help you with questions as you navigate through this process. And I think more importantly, you get your own community outside of just your law school and your law firm, but elsewhere, and people that are going through the same things as you are at the same time.
I'll jump in. I think that my advice flows directly from what Vincent was just saying. For younger attorneys of color, like it says, what advice? I mean, the question is like, what advice would you give younger attorneys? And frankly, it would be listen to advice. Like a lot of people, we give them really constructive advice, and they do not take it. We try to navigate these spaces by ourselves, right? And that's completely the wrong method because our counterparts don't do that. Our counterparts are always talking to senior attorneys or going out to lunch with senior attorneys or partners and trying to get that not only that advantage but that connection. And what I think, and frankly, asking for help, we don't do it enough. And when we do ask for help, we often don't listen to it. So I've had experiences where I'm literally like mapping out what I think would be most helpful for someone to do, like calls, conversations, literally just, hey, you should talk to this person at the firm, or you need to talk, like, here's an opportunity, there'll probably be an opportunity over here. And I check back in, a month later, they didn't do it. And so you're like, man, what do you, like, really use the community, If someone is more senior to you, is telling you or spending the time or taking the time to like give you certain types of advice, you probably should take it. And we're not always going to be perfect with the advice that we're going to give, but it's the issue is like, we do know what we're talking about. We do know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so ask for help, receive the help, and utilize it. Don't just have it go in one ear and out the other. And agree with Vincent on different types of way to continue the community. So obviously things like AAC, CYLC is a great conference. If you're interested in entertainment sports law, BSLA, which is a Black Entertainment Sports Lawyers Association, they have a conference every year, and it's always in a remote location. One thing that BSLA does is that there are opportunities for people that are law students to get scholarships to go if they're volunteers. And so I would encourage people, if they're really interested in that type of work, to kind of look up BSLA, look for that opportunity and see how you can get involved, because you may be able to go and it'll be funded, at least part of the trip will be funded for you. There's also MBK, MSK, which is something that goes on every year in the city here. That's like a 2-day conference. It's or 3-day conference, pretty inexpensive. A couple $100 just to attend, and there's an opportunity to meet a ton of it's all attorneys of color, and in all different fields, and it's kind of it's kind of something that's come from a lot of people that were at COC who they wanted to start something more in New York. And so I think that that's another good opportunity. So looking for all of these opportunities to connect is great, and stay connected to the Fordham law community. I've gotten clients from the Fordham law community. I've gotten some great friend relationships, and also I just think that that's the way to develop as an attorney, and also think it's a way to stay connected to the network.
Thank you to you both for providing those resources. Duvol, what you said earlier about actually listening to advice and internalizing advice, I think that's great advice. I always tell my mentees, listen, I'm giving you this advice not because I think I know better, but because I've made some of these mistakes and I'm trying to help you not make the same mistakes. So I really like that, actually taking the advice. Duvol, I'm going to kick it to you with this next question. And I love this is my favorite question of the interview. And I ask everyone this every time in any realm of life. If you could speak to your younger self, either as a student or an athlete, or even as a young attorney, what would you tell him now?
The first answer as a student, it's kind of like as a student slash athlete is, seek out help. And when I say help, it's not necessarily like begging for a job or begging for it. It's literally just talking to people about the opportunities that are there, maybe seeking out, one of the things that I wish that I had done was talk to more people in the field that I'm looking to get into so I can kind of craft my own path. And also, listen to what they had to say, maybe take some of that advice, kind of what I was talking to you about before. As an athlete, I think my biggest, mistake as an athlete was that once I got into the NFL, I think that it was my training practices. Like I didn't train a lot with other NFL players, which was the biggest mistake I ever made. And I think that that was a result of, coming out of Ivy, not necessarily having all the connections, not really reconnecting with my trainer when he was training other folks. Like I really should have focused my training on training with other athletes because you gotta stay sharp. You have to stay sharp, and the only way you're gonna stay sharp is by challenging yourself against other people. And so that was as particularly as an athlete, right? And I think that is the same thing kind of with you being a lawyer is that you want to be around people that push you. You want to be around people that can lift you up and make you better. So I should have been practicing with people I should have been training with people that I knew were better than me or faster than me or stronger than me because that would have pushed me to be better. And I think that was my key advice to my younger self because I probably would have stuck around the NFL a little bit longer had I done that.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is I think it's another word to say, having perseverance is just continue to bounce back. Whether you're a student, whether you're an athlete, we're all going to make mistakes. Just continue to persevere, continue to bounce back, come back, be resilient, be stronger, right? I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned as an associate is that resiliency is what gets you sort of going on the right path. If you make a mistake, figure out why you made it, talk to the people that you need to talk to in order to not make it again, and then continue to bounce back and get better. And I think that's what, I did as an athlete that helped me get to the level of, playing sports in which I did. And I think that's also something that I do now or try to continue to do now as a lawyer. Just always bounce back, always get stronger, always get better, continue working on your craft, but just showing the people that either your clients, either your sort of internal clients and mid-level senior associates or partners that, not only am I good at what I do, but if I do make a mistake, I'm resilient. I figure out why, and it won't happen again.
Wise words, wise words. So I try to be introspective all throughout the year, but I find, especially in Black History Month, is a time where I'm especially introspective. So this last question for you both. What does it mean to you to be visibly successful in spaces where Black representation has historically been limited?
Uh,
And I'll start with you, Duvol.
um, Coming up, so I've been at my firm my whole career as well, which is unique. And I know that Vincent can speak to that as unique for us to be in these spaces for so long at the same place. I think that was important to me though, because I didn't, particularly in the New York office, there was only one other Black partner in our office. There are a lot of, I think that my firm has done well with creating a lot of partners and equity partners and people in a firm's administration of color around the firm. But in New York, there weren't as many, which is kind of crazy to me because New York is one of the most diverse places, in the country. And so it was important to me to say, look, I want this opportunity. I'm going to push for this opportunity because I want to make sure that if there's anyone that wants it that looks like me, they know that it's achievable. And that was important to me just because I didn't have that. And I know that just being able to see that someone can achieve that is important. So all the time when I'm doing either on-campus interviews or interviewing folks of color that are coming into the firm. They're like, wow, you're like one of the first Black partners that I've even spoken to in my whole process across firms. And so that was important to me because, man, I realized it myself, but it was, wow, like this is important to these individuals to see that if they come to this space, it is very much achievable. So now, a goal is, okay, what level can I get to? Do I need to become an equity partner? Do I need to be in firm administration? Because those things are going to be important to the folks that are coming up behind me. Just enough, just so they know that it is attainable and you can do it for a continued success.
Thank you for that, Duvol. Go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah. I touched on this briefly at our Fordham sort of Trailblazer Award ceremony last year, and it's twofold. One, it's recognizing that you stand or I stand on the shoulders of giants of people that have been here, right? And it's sort of understanding that somebody at Freed Frank, but also in Big Law, whether it's Patricia Rivers Harris, who was a partner at this firm, or someone else, that paved the way for me to get here. Sort of, I owe it to them to continue to try to do my best to be successful myself, but then to also pave the way for other attorneys of color, whether at Freed Frank or in general. So here, Freed Frank is just continuously putting forth effort, whether in New York or in DC, to recruit and retain attorneys of color at this firm. It's something that I spend a huge amount of time on, talking to our attorney recruitment team, going out, seeking, interviewing, and trying to make sure that attorneys of color come to Freed Frank and are successful at Freed Frank so that they can, start their career and continue their career here in the manner of which I did. That's the first part. And then the second part is sort of just paying it forward in any way, shape, or form outside of Freed Frank, whether that's attorneys of color at other firms, whether that's attorneys of color that are still in law school, doing my best to act as a mentor to them and answer any questions, so that they sort of can navigate this career in a manner in which I wasn't able to because I didn't ask the right questions either, as Duvol sort of alluded to, and just making sure that they know they have somebody that they can ask questions to and can help them navigate their career in a manner in which, other people may not have been prior to myself and them.
Thank you for that perspective. I think I speak for everyone in the audience when I say it has been inspiring and illuminating to hear from both of you today. And we appreciate you making the time and look forward to hearing from you more in the future.